I do need a clear headspace, and I do a lot of praying before I go on site. Like I'd be up maybe the night before, consciously, engaging with the land energetically before I get there. And when I get on site, I go around with my little lantern and my sage, and I ask permission from the ancestors of the land as well. Is it all right to plant on the land? And even, I think, putting your hands into the soil, that alone, the mycelium, and it's just touching the soil, and, you feel you're on a high nearly after, when you just literally have the soil in your hand and the dirt in your fingernails, you just feel that energy again from the earth. Yeah, so that's just magic.
When I was young myself, I had a great affinity with trees. And if I saw anyone cutting bushes or anything, I'd be kind of going, oh my goodness. And then I thought everyone else felt the same way. And then I discovered they didn't. When I draw a breath, it's after coming from that tree. And when I blow out, the tree breathes in. We're a balance. Trees and life, we all live in balance and in harmony together. So to be involved in anything that is restoring and not destructive brings me joy. I get a very, very great sense of joy from it, that we are changing our understandings, that how we impact the earth is our own choice. We can live in a greater harmony. It reminds me of putting a tattoo on our arm. If you put a little tattoo on the earth, you're bringing our real dependence on the earth back into honour. That we honour the earth again in a very practical way. We don't only think about honouring the earth, we actually do something honourable for the earth, so that it's an action more than a thought. And I meet the nicest people. Gosh, you meet gorgeous people when you hang out planting trees.
Man's world is go to work, just do the job. Whereas with the nature world, when you're in your heart, you have to follow your heart, so you're finding this magic. It's so important to open your heart, because everything changes. Like once you open your heart in that space, you can hear. The wind was almost talking. Like the voices of the ancestors, the gods, the goddesses, they were talking through the wind. The lady with her harp, the wind played through her harp, When your heart is open, it's like everything becomes magic. There's no words for it, really. You see differently, actually. You nearly see through your heart. It's almost like your heart has eyes. You feel through your heart, you listen through your heart. Like that. We can bring that in to the world, the world of man, let's say. And then anyone that's into this is like, oh, they're away with the fairies, or they're off the wall, or they're lunatic, you know what I mean? So I can see how it's very hard for people to awaken at these times, that it's very hard for them to see the truth or feel the truth, Things get easier, actually, when you're in the heart, because you're living in such a space that everything is in synchronicity and it's flowing with you like the water.
Our hearts remember everything that ever was. It's just that we'd kind of lost the way of living in our hearts. But we're finding our way home there now, ever more deeply. We're remembering it's all within. We have to reactivate our own living waters. And when we do so, water holds all memory. It's the original recorder. It's pure consciousness. When we come back to activating the waters within us that flow through us, gosh, we remember everything and we really charge our heart. We return to divine flow, where you're just flowing in a magical, different space entirely from the world we've been living in up until now. As a child, sitting here with my grandmother, this was very covered up. This was all overgrown. The well was blocked. I said, what is that door? And she'd say, oh, a witch lives down there now. You don't want to be going down there. That's where the witch lives, and that's the witch's tree. So I think this was to try and scare me from coming down here on my own, but it did the opposite. I was like, wow, I want to meet this witch. So I climbed into the tree, and I used to bring a little basket of daisies up into that tree with me, I can remember it, and sit there and make daisy chains that came down to the ground. And I'd ask the fairies, please, this is your ladder, climb up and tell me about the witch. And I used to just sit here and talk to the fairies, and literally, and ask them, please, ask the witch to come out of her house, and I'd sit patiently in the tree, please let the witch come out of her house, So she didn't. So I just started digging and digging and digging and digging. Oh, it was days of digging. And then I was very disappointed when it didn't seem to lead anywhere. I was like, well, there's no house here, you know, this has been a lot of work. But then when I came back a few days later and it was full of clear water, I just knelt down here and cried. I was humbled. I just thought, it actually just moved something within me. It was the middle of the summer. Where has this water come from? And I realised this is a spring. And once I started drinking that water, I've never drunk from a tap since. I mean, and look at tap water. It's full of chlorine and fluoride. We're actually being poisoned and made very unwell with that water when we are well beings. And to restore our well-being and honour our waters, we need to drink from the wells and well water, you know, living water. We are living water. We exist. 70% is water. You know, we need to be drinking the living waters. And as soon as I started doing that, it was a life-changing moment for me. So I decided to find all the other wells and dig them up too in the town, and that's what we've done. We found over 100 in the last year, which is incredible. And more people in the town have started to return to drinking from the wells. They were a little bit scared at first because we're told, oh, but it's got to go through heavy filtration systems, and oh, it could be very contaminated, and waters, oh, it's very dangerous if you drink it, you know, and oh no, it's much safer, drink the fluoridated, chlorinated stuff, or the stuff filled with microplastics in our plastic bottles. Buy our water, oh, it's a commodity. Nonsense. We have an abundance of well water flowing wild and free, and we just need to reconnect with that.
I've been feeding into the waters without even knowing it really, and we have the Unity water here that we can now, this is from water from all over Ireland and a few other countries as well, so we can put a few drops of this into any of the wells that we go and visit. Have a sharing of all that of primordial waters and bringing back healing to the earth and healing to ourselves. Water holds so much memory and consciousness. It can be so influenced by us, our thoughts. All the water beneath the earth is the primordial water. It has the original sequences in it. It's consciousness itself. So for us to be getting back to clearing wells and drinking that water is us coming into health and back into connectivity with nature and who we are as beings.
A lot of people didn't have a good time during COVID, but the COVID drove us out into the wells because no one was allowed, in our area anyway, go anywhere. And when we wanted to meet our friends, there was no cafe. So we used to meet up at the Holy Well, and we used to bring our own food and things like that, you know, and we used to light a fire and have a chat. And people would be kind of saying, oh, what do you find so fascinating about a Holy Well? And in fairness, when we were younger, it was tradition that you go on the traditional day. But anymore, I go because I get from it. You know, when I come away from the Holy Well, I feel better. And sometimes I don't even know why. You know, it just does me good in a very, very simple way altogether.
So this is an Ordnance Survey map of 1932 of the town. I tried to find the oldest map I could of the town that would show wells of the town. Once I realised its former name had been Fanna de Tubraid, Slope of the Wells, I thought, where are these wells? So I circled the wells that were marked on here, and I walked around the town over several months, up every street, up every lane, and I knocked on the doors where I thought these wells were, and I said, I think you may have an old well in your land. Could I have a look? And it was really lovely. People were actually very welcoming. Amazed when I went into their gardens and unearthed old wells. They were predominantly blocked up, and they didn't realise they were there, but there was a sign of there being a well there, you know. As I was looking for the wells, I started to notice these beautiful rising waters in so many other places, and I'd follow the rising water back to well structures that aren't on the map. So there's about 40 on this map, but there's 100 marked here. So 60 of these weren't on any map, and they're not on any record that we can find. And this is probably the case in every town. So what we really need to do is find our wells again, unblock them and restore them, map them and record them, because these records have been lost. And there's more to find. The treasure hunt continues. So people don't have to go to this extent, But there are wells that we know of in every town that are being neglected or aren't necessarily being visited or used, or people might have got a bit afraid of drinking the water from the well. Maybe they go there and they visit and they pay their respects, but they're not actually drinking of the water. But, you know, these wells were actually our ancestors. They served many purposes. Many people were bathing in certain wells for healing, you know. And I think we really need to come back to tuning into the wells at a much deeper level now, tuning into our own waters at a much deeper level now. It's not just a place you go, you visit, pay your respects and walk away from again. No, there's so much more there. And I'd really, really encourage everyone in your towns to please clear your wells, keep them clear. You need to tend the wells. Leaves and things fall in as the year goes by. You need to clear them. You need to tend your wells. Keep them charged with your love and gratitude. As Missouri Emoto showed, love and gratitude bring water to its highest harmony and most pristine crystal structure. Just love and gratitude. Keep our waters structured, because those wells are then flowing through your towns. So let that beautiful ripple effect of that love and gratitude flow through your whole town, you know? So let's get every well in the land well again in this return to well-being and a restoration of divine flow, and reharmonise this beautiful body of Ériu.
When the Tuatha Dé Danann were ruling in Ireland, they brought music and they brought poetry and they brought magic. And no one ever thought anyone could beat them in battle because they were so amazing. They also lived in great harmony with their surroundings. So they were in a vibrational frequency. The playing of the harp of Dagda brought everything into harmony, and they were able to communicate with the land, and they were able to understand the animals, and they even could listen deeply to the sound of the curlew. The Fomorians were their long-term enemies, and the Fomorians were very wise people too, and they discovered that if they could take away the harmony, they had the beating of the Tuatha Dé Danann. So there was a battle on anyway, and the Tuatha Dé Danann, one of their major druids, was after putting a spell on all the water and the wells, and they all dried up. So the Fomorians were attempting to fight a battle, and they were running short of water. Their tongues started to hang out for a drink, and they started to make their way towards the coast because all the wells were dry, and, you know, they were nearly shoved off out into the sea completely when the Fomorian druid stole the harp of harmony from Dagda. And when the Tuatha Dé Danann gathered at home, they discovered they couldn't sing and that they couldn't harmonise anymore, and they couldn't hear the sound of the curlew. And they said, oh no, we have been defeated. And they accepted it. The Fomorians actually quite liked them, and they, instead of making them leave Ireland, the Tuatha Dé Danann removed themselves to the stones and to the quiet places. And apparently Dagda had such control over the harp, though, that he made his way into the Fomorian halls, called for the harp, and it hopped into his hands, and off they went. When we grew up, if you did not believe in the fairies, people thought there was something badly wrong with you. And we all have it within us to tune in. The nature spirits and the nature elements are always around us. Yeah. I'd be a little lonely if I thought they weren't. I'd feel less. Yeah.
Wherever you are around the land, find the wells that are around you, get together and clear them. Don't wait for permission to do so. You don't need the OPW to grant you a license to come back to our sacred wells of the land. There's a higher permission, and that's divine law. And where we're returning to in sovereignty and raising Ériu, the goddess of sovereignty, we operate with divine law. And the divine law is you honour your waters, you know? And we honour our ancestors and we honour our heritage, and wells that are being neglected and are stagnant and are blocked whilst people around them are drinking fluoridated, chlorinated water. It's our responsibility to clear them and to bring them into flow through our community again, through the land that we live in again, through our beings again. There's no reason why in the next year we couldn't open every single well in this land again and have everybody drinking well water once again, and get our waters running throughout the land and throughout our bodies crystal clear once more. And the raising of the waters is the raising of the whole. There's been such a deliberate suppression of the waters and a blocking of the waters and a poisoning of the waters because they're so powerful.
I often thought about a kaleidoscope, because we used to play with kaleidoscopes when we were young, you know, and all the elements in the kaleidoscope are already in the kaleidoscope. But if you even turn it once, it makes a whole new picture, and you turn it again and it makes a whole new picture. What is already in our reality is already in our reality. Do we see it? Do we change the pattern? Can we open to it? I think we're even going to be asked even to open and even to more, because we're getting closer and closer to understanding our place in the whole cosmos, and that everything isn't as simple as ABC and 1, 2, 3. It's way more diverse than that. And I think as human people, we are well able to embrace all of that. Well able to. And not with fear, you know, but with anticipation and joy. Yeah.
It's a calling, it's a strong calling within me, like it's a labour of love what I'm doing. And like Charlotte, it's a labour of love what she's doing, clearing out the wells. But I can't necessarily feel in or tell you, oh yeah, this is, you know, that's not my job. I'm just doing what I'm guided to do. And there's other people then that can feel into that energetically. I can just hope that it's doing some bit of good. And that people then, when they're walking the meditation, they're walking around in the spiral, coming back, you know, that you're coming back to your centre again, to the heart centre. This is the 67th. Well, my daughter was only just asked me there yesterday, Ma'am, do you think you'll make the 100th, like, you know, before the year is out? So it's just like this when you come to an event, you know, you meet other people and then they say, oh, you know, what's this all about? I'd like that on my land. So I'm just waiting now for, people to pick up the phone and say, yeah, would you do it on my land?
People around the land have been inspired to do it now. People before thought, well, I don't know how to clear a well. You know, just as people think they don't know how to make themselves well again. Oh, I need to go to a doctor. He'll know how to make me well. I'll get a few pills. It's like, no, we can actually do this ourselves. The herbs around us have everything we need. If you walk barefoot on the land and you observe what herbs grow, and then you look up what their medicinal properties are, that's Mother Earth giving you the medicine that you need for your being. It's all around us all of the time. We don't need anything outside of ourselves, you know, and that's what we need to return to, and that's what we do return to in heart space. It's all within. The kingdom of heaven is within the temple of the heart. My grandmother was actually very deeply connected, and I think my grandmother has been with me all the way. I felt my grandmother, whose name I carry, very closely with me through this whole process. And there's the bells affirming that. She's been with me all the way, and I think she's completely delighted I dug up this well. In fact, I think she was probably always hoping I would, you know. You know, sometimes our greatest fears, when we really enter them, which I literally did, turn out to bring us to the greatest beauty.